This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty, there he is, ready to go, locked and loaded. There you go. You got your Maroon 5 Marlins hat is what you've got on. That's what you've got on right now.
I know it's your favorite.
I know, yeah, that's really my favorite. Thank God. Yes, exactly. Anyway, how you doing, my brother? You doing all right on a beautiful afternoon here on July 4th? Happy July 4th.
Happy July 4th. Overall good. Yeah, overall. I mean, Friday's news wasn't great for me, but yeah.
I know.
We keep going. We keep going. Move forward.
It's a shit business, brother. And you know what? We can't let this kind of stuff get us down. And I've gone through my own trials and tribulations, you know what I'm saying? And you just got to fight through it, man. You got to fight through it, and you're super talented, and you will get the opportunity you deserve, my brother. You will.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You just got to keep grinding. And, of course, we want you to follow Miami Total Football, which is a great podcast covering InterMiami and everything going on. And tonight, by the way, they are on the road at Toyota Stadium at 9 o'clock to take on Dallas. So FC Dallas, or it used to be the Dallas Burn back in the day. Now it's FC Dallas. It's funny how they went away from their the nicknames and they really wanted to go back to traditional football names, right? It's funny how they. I don't know why that bothered them so much. I
don't like the nicknames. I personally don't like the nicknames.
But that's an American thing. You know what I'm saying?
So teams in England, right? Teams in England, like you could have Leeds United, and then they have their nickname that people call them by anyway. But that's like
right
on the side. I don't mind that, but I don't know. That's just the traditionalist in me.
Right. Exactly. And it's kind of that's why we don't have promotion and
relegation.
Yeah, because we're Americans. That's not the American way. Once an American businessman invests in a pro team, he's going to have a pro team, not a minor league team. And we're terrible as a country overall. If it's not pros, minor league baseball gets some support, but overall, minor league sports, they just don't get support, dude, in this country.
Yeah,
it's just not the same, And they get to do, Division 1 and 2 and 3. They get support all around the world. It's different, man. It's just those communities. It's a lot like baseball. Some of those communities get really behind those minor league baseball teams. They have that luxury all around the world that we just don't have with minor leagues, But hey, listen, you questioned Neville at times. You've been, concerned about is he the right coach or not? Has he done a better job tactically, considering what he has now? Because it looks like he's getting more of what he wants. Obviously, we got to give Chris Henderson a lot of credit, but coaching wise, he's got a young team and he's getting a lot out of this young team. Has he earned a lot of respect in your eyes with what he's done this year?
I would say he's done better than he did last year. But at the same time, they're still in 10th place right now. So like they're fighting for a playoff spot. Yes, the Eastern Conference.
You never thought they were a playoff team.
Right. I still don't think they're a playoff team.
So then it's not his fault.
Well,
right?
If he picked these players and then this team doesn't get to the playoffs, then
Chris Henderson and him picked those players, obviously.
Right.
But they didn't. He doesn't have the DP money, dude, invested in the guys. And one of his DPs is off the bench now. So I can't blame him if they're not a playoff team when I looked at their roster right from the beginning of the year and said they're not a playoff team. So if you're hovering close to the playoffs, at least you're doing your job, I think.
We're still halfway through the season. At the end of the season, the story could be different. But for me, you see coaching or good coaching in scarcity. When you don't have a roster that's with an abundant talent, that's when you need to show you can get a lot of juice out of the lemon. It's easier when you have very good players to just win. It's easier that way. Does that make you a good coach? Not necessarily. The players can just be very talented and they could just be leading you to victory. But in scarcity, and we've seen it, you see it in different sports. teams that you don't think on paper should be anywhere close to where they're at overperform. And that, I think, is a sign of good coaching.
Yeah, Nashville
Yeah.
last year, right?
So
that's an example.
So I won't say that Villanovan's done a terrible job this year. Again, they're in the fight. They're in the thick of it. The Eastern Conference is seen widely in MLS right this year as very poor. So that there's an element of that here at play. But they're in the fight. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Yes, they are hamstrung, but Phil Neville knew that.
That's why I think you're being a little rough on the guy, because I never looked at them as a playoff team. But if they're right on the brink of the playoffs and it ends like this at the end of the year, they're just outside looking in, I'm going to say, well, that's kind of who they are. That's what they were supposed to be. And you're doing it with a lot of young guys, which, there's not a lot of leadership overall that's actually leading this team right now. It's a lot of young guys that have never done it too. That's another challenge for the coach, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's been more of an identity. So to be fair to Phil, there's been more of an identity this year, especially at home. So again, I think he's been better. I just don't, like, for me personally, I just don't think it's where it needs to be. It still needs to improve. Like, if you go back this last game, right, the last home game, they came from behind and won.
Yeah.
In the last 10 minutes, last 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, Indiana, baby. It was the Indiana.
But it wasn't a great game for that. And the game before that, the game before the break, not the Atlanta game, because they played Atlanta before when they came back from the break, but before that, the last home game, they played the Portland Timbers, and they were up 2-0. Looked like it was going to be an easy coast to the finish line. Phil Neville switches to 5 at the back. That invites pressure. That invites Portland to get a little bit more life, and they score, and they make it 2-1. And then InterMiami has to ride out a very nervy finish. Got saved by the post from an equalizer. So
and Portland's not good, and then Portland this year wasn't good on the road.
Isn't great. So listen, Phil Neville's a young coach. I've always said that he's a young coach. He's going to be learning just like a young player would be learning. Yes, he's played at the highest levels. He's had a great career as a player, but when you're coaching, it's a new venture. It's a new experience, and you have to learn and take your bumps and bruises and your licks as well. So he's a young coach, and I think he's learning on the fly. He's learning what works for him, what doesn't work for him, how to manage certain situations. He doesn't have a DP essentially on the field right now because the only DP on the team is Gonzalo Higuain, and he hasn't played more than 10, 15, 20 minutes in recent months. So, he's doing what he can with what he has. But I think it could be better? Absolutely, I think it could be better.
The young guys, who are you impressed with? Who do you like?
So there's two that I really, really like this season. Bryce Duke in that midfield. I think he gives the team, like I've said on Miami Total Football, more soccer. Just has a lot more ideas, a lot more forward thinking, a lot more.
Can you imagine if you had him the first year?
We're talking Diego Alonso days, though.
Yeah, but I mean, the first 2 years actually, you needed a guy like him that can actually serve things up and help guys out, dude. I love that kid. He's done a terrific. He had a great little game the other day, man.
Yeah, he's been good. He's been a welcome addition to the team. I would almost say a revelation. Almost. Maybe he needs a little more goals or assists to be a revelation, but he's definitely been a big bright spot for this team and giving them more soccer, more football in that midfield. So absolutely Bryce Duke, and then Drake Callender at the back, who as of the last few games hasn't been a bright, like hasn't stood out because they haven't called on him as much, but he's been very, very good for me. Yeah. I think he's a starting goalkeeper right now. I think when Nick Marsman gets healthy, I don't think Nick Marsman comes back in. I actually spoke to Nick Marsman after the last game, and I was like, hey man, he actually tapped me on the shoulder, and he was like, hey, how's it going, man? He's like, oh yeah, I'm good. I mean, how you feeling? He's like, yeah, better and better. Yeah, my back was bothering me, and I was like, okay. I was like, man, you got competition now, though. He's like, yeah, it's not going to be easy. So,
yeah,
we'll see how it goes. Phil has talked
and he's younger and cheaper, probably.
Well, yeah. So I've argued on this with Jose Armando on Miami Total Football. Like, he thinks Nick Marsman's the number one because of experience, hands down. And I said, I think Phil Neville and his staff will go with Drake Callender. I would go with Drake Callender. That's what I would do personally, because he's proven to be a better shot blocker, at least during this stretch. So he's not as
By
good.
the way, who brought in Drake Callender?
Well, there you go. So, but he's not as good as with his feet, but shot blocker, which is the number one thing you want from a goalkeeper, he's been essential. He's been essential. He's been a big time player, and I think that makes him the starter. Me personally, I think that makes him.
Lassiter, Campana, you're good with them. I mean, they've done. I like Lassiter too. I think he's done a nice job. He's actually a much better passer than the old man was.
Lassiter, I would say Campana obviously has been impressive. I didn't point him out because obviously he's been obvious. The best player, right? So it's too obvious. Yeah. Lassiter has done more than I thought he would do, but it still hasn't been great. Like, you still want more from Ariel Lassiter.
But he's young. He's young.
He's like 27. He's not that young.
Oh yeah, that's right. He is. Yeah, that's right.
But you want more. This team is a team that relies on service from the wings, whether it's the fullbacks or the wingers. And I still don't think he gives you enough consistently. I think that's. Look, they just signed a winger this week. We were joking about his pronunciation of his name, but Corentin Jean is a French winger. They're looking to bring in attacking help because InterMiami is one of the lowest scoring teams in MLS right now. So, I mean, Campana has done his part. The rest of the team has not. And that falls on the wingers because the wingers are also attacking players. They're forwards. They haven't been able to, all of them together, all of them. It's not just on Ariel Lassiter. I'm not picking on Ariel Lassiter, but all of them together have not been able to consistently deliver the attacking contributions you would seek. So Lassiter has done more than I thought he would, but you still want more.
Franco Panizo, of course, who does an excellent job of covering InterMiami. Follow him on Twitter at Franco Panizo, and of course, subscribe to Miami Total Football so you can keep up with Inter. Two things before I let you go. On the DP side, what are you expecting for this offseason? And I'm not going to get into the messy. That's such a silly story that every time it's mentioned, it never happens. And it's been mentioned 87 times already. Realistically, because I think they have one more year of limitations, right, for salary. But they still have the DP spot open. So what do they do next year in the offseason? Do you expect them to make a move for a DP?
So this winter, do they make a move for a DP? Well, I would say yes. Obviously, Pizarro is another DP spot that is occupied right now. He's on loan, but since they couldn't pay off a certain amount of money, he still counts as a DP on this roster, even though he's not playing for the team. Yes, it's funky MLS rules. So if they can offload him, if he goes to the World Cup and he does well or whatever, and they can offload him, that opens up another spot. So, I think that they'll sign a DP. As for Messi, you said you're tired of it because you've heard it mentioned 87 times. Well, you're about to hear the 88th time, my friend. I think he'll be here. I think he's going to come. And that's not information.
Next year?
Yes, next year. I don't think it's not information. This is not Franco Panizo reporting. This is just my supposition, my sensation. I think he's coming. I think he'll be here.
2023.
Yeah. Summer 2023. I think he'll be like MLS.
Okay. So it's the back end of the 23 season going into 24.
He'll play the whole year with PSG. He'll do their season. Probably take a break in June, and then July, August he'll come in. That's just my supposition. It's not information. It's not inside info. Franco Panizo is not reporting this. I just think, knowing how MLS works, they're going to do everything they can to bring him. Everything they can. And look, Adidas is an MLS sponsor. Messi wears Adidas boots. Messi's been sponsored by Adidas his entire career. So there's a lot of other ways for them to try to lure him in. They're going to try to do their best.
Yeah, because it'll boost the sales in the American market. Right.
Exactly. So they will do whatever they can. Because listen, if Messi comes here, how many more eyeballs will be on Major League Soccer?
Oh, you won't be able to sell a ticket.
So it'll be
packed.
It will be an investment that I think MLS will look to make, especially ahead of the World Cup, in the run up to the 2026 World Cup. So again, just my sensation, not information.
Coming across right now, multiple people shot gunfire at a 4th of July parade in Illinois. Jesus, that's terrible. Anyway, all right. So, your thoughts on tonight on the road? Do they win in Dallas?
It's a tough one. Can they win in Dallas? It's MLS. You can win anywhere. Will they? Look, InterMiami's not been a very good team away from home this year. They have 4 points in 7 games. If I'm not mistaken, 1 win, 5 losses, 1 draw. So that makes 4 points, in 7 games. They talked about this week about Phil Neville wants to stress being a better team away from home. He touched on a change in mentality. He said that he wants them to avoid the red cards that they've received. Fair. And that he wants them to be more ruthless in the final third. Both fair points. But if you say change in mentality, that also to me comes off as like, all right, well, then you need to change your approach, because if you're only going to have a few chances, you might not put them away, especially this team that doesn't have the most lethal finishers. So, no. Yeah. So, will they win tonight? It's a tough challenge. Can they? Absolutely. If they play well, if they play their game, if they can get more from other elements, other facets of play that they haven't been doing well in, absolutely they can win. Now, will they? I would bank on no. If I was a betting man, I would say no, just based off their record, and FC Dallas is in a good place, in a good standing right now. So, if you had to bet, I'd say no, but it's possible. It's MLS.
All right, Miami Total Football. When's the next episode drop?
So we had one drop late this week because of the holiday. The next one will drop after the FC Dallas match. So probably Wednesday, Thursday of this week. But yeah, stay tuned to it because we have a lot of new things. We're going to do a Spanish language once a month now. So incorporating a lot of new things on Miami Total Football Radio.
There you go. Check it out at Franco Panizo, and of course at Miami Total Football on Twitter. Check it out and subscribe to Miami Total Football. Franco, as always, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up down the line, my friend.
Happy Independence Day, bro. Enjoy it.
Happy 4th of July, my friend. Thank you. There you go. Franco Panizo talking a little InterMiami as they get ready to take on Dallas. So